Hey everyone, it's Paul here. I know this is out of the ordinary, but this wasn't an ordinary episode. Post-production, that is. We had trouble with the uploading of our video and audio recordings after we had already recorded the whole episode. So you will notice that the video quality, if you watch this episode, and the audio quality either way, is not up to par. And also, Stops Upload did halfway cut off as far as the video goes. Post-production, so you won't see Stop for the last half of the episode, unfortunately. We tried everything we could post-production to get it to upload, multiple browsers, every solution we could possibly come up with, troubleshooting it all the way through, and just couldn't figure anything out. Not to mention constant disconnections to the recording. As far as the disconnections goes, we know the issue after the fact, which was that I myself had a Huffington Post article up that we were going to discuss, and the amount of ads on that article was so extensive that I actually chewed up the RAM on my computer. I use a Mac for pretty much my main computer because of the ability that I have for video editing and editing the podcast for you guys. So therefore, the RAM never really is an issue, but it was in this case. So that's pretty hard to figure out because it's never been a problem before. With that being said, the quality of this episode is not what we hold to standard for ourselves, and it won't happen again. It's not the quality that we want to put out to you guys. You guys expect better of us, and we expect better of ourselves as well. So please bear with us on this episode. With all of that being said, enjoy the listen at least, and we love you all. See ya.
Santa's blood report comes back on TRT.
Santa's taking Tren to lift all the presents in the gift bag, like in Polar Express. He's gonna be like, "Is the keg press wasn't for Eddie Hall, it was for Santa and his presents. They're just dropping presents down the rail, and he's just pressing them to get ready." Because he's got that gigantic ocean liner of a fucking sleigh.
Well, every Santa thing I've seen has a very relatively small sled, but there he has gifts for every person. So I'm feeling like that sack is deeper than advertised.
Well, yeah, it's magic. He uses magic to carry all the presents.
No, it's not magic. It's real. It's real.
Scientifically
proven.
Disprove it right now. Right now. Disprove it. Just hold the gun to you. See if it does it. Will it do it? Yeah, there it is.
We figured it out.
You just got to sit there for a second. There we go. But yeah, so we it's been a full year, right? Yeah.
Yep. We started the cast just before the beginning of 2022, and so this became our first full year of casting. So here we are. We're wrapping up the year. Paul's got his Santa hat on. I've got my Christmas sweater on with a ripped Santa.
Yep. Brodolph, the red-nosed Gaines deer. I had one that was I forget which one it was. It was it was something like that. With air, there's that's what machines are supposed to be for, is the isolate movement, targeting a specific head, specific muscle, whatever. But if you're gonna keep editing the machine like that, just go do cables or some shit, or just dumbbell rows or whatever the case may be. So it's just I don't know, it's just weird that became a thing for a while, the really scientific based lifting, towards the end of 2022 especially.
I was gonna say, I saw almost not the end, but a severe decline in free weight, so dumbbell barbell movements in comparison to machine and cable movements. And don't get me wrong, there are absolute purposes for machine and cables, but there are just some things you just can't replicate from a dumbbell, the amount of stress you put your body under when you do a dumbbell because of how much weight is on just one particular side and like having to control that particular weight without the, you know, structure of a machine or a cable or anything like that. Like you can't replicate that anywhere else. So it sucks to see like people not using dumbbells in that way.
And having what?
And just not using dumbbells in that way, you know, having utilizing just the machines for iso movements, but you're not able to replicate the stress of having to stabilize a dumbbell, you know. So that's why I wish people shifted back to it. I understand, because, you know, the argument is that these machines are new, they're being made specifically for this purpose, but I don't know, sometimes I think just some of the old ways are just way better.
Yeah, I mean, again, that was the problem with the trend. There are good sources of scientifically based training methods, right? But people were taking it too far, and you're at the point where you're making the movement so complex, you're really just kind of getting diminishing returns. And, you know, some of the biggest, I mean, obviously, okay, so the biggest guys out there, like the biggest and leanest guys, there's a lot of variables that go into it. There's a lot of nuance in the gym. But at the end of the day, what works for them works for them. And there are some of the biggest dudes I've seen train solely free weight, you know, like Ronnie Coleman was one of them. Like he almost trained entirely free weight. He did some cables and stuff like that here and there, but like the dude was so freakishly strong, it's all he could fucking do was free weight. But then you had someone like Jay Cutler, who like primarily used cables and machinery, like almost exclusively. So, but at the same time, he's using the machinery the way it's supposed to be used. He's not doing all this stupid modifying bullshit. So like that was what gets annoying is when you make the movement so complex where you might as well, like you're just over complicating it. Like a dumbbell row versus these fucking high rows that these guys are doing. It's just a completely different movement. You know, you at that point you're not spending your time wisely. You know, you're setting up the machine for 10 minutes trying to get everything just right so that you can get this certain pumping. But then also the same type of people who are doing that don't plan on bodybuilding. I'm like, why are you hitting it so particularly if you're not planning? Like, if you don't hear from a judge saying specifically your rhomboids need work, like, then why are you doing it that way? Or whatever the muscle that you're trying to work in a weird way, why are you doing it that way? You know, because these guys are like, oh, I don't plan on bodybuilding, blah, 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 and I'm just doing this for fitness and whatnot. Then why are you targeting so specific movements? If you're doing it for just general health or wanting to be stronger, look better, all that, compound movements are your friend. Compound movements are the way to go. So these super specific isolate movements are just really annoying. But we have seen a decline in them, which is good. It's good to see that, you know. It became kind of like a meme, making fun of the scientific-based community. And I was kind of part of it at first when it was good, but then it got too much. And I'm like, all right, now this is just getting annoying.
Let's just go back to our roots and make fun of CrossFit. Like,
oh, dude, they will always be the common enemy.
Yeah.
they're always the people we always trash on. It's like from Ted, where he's like, shut the fuck up, because like they're out the windows yelling at each other.
Yeah.
He's like, why don't you come down here, make me shut up, tough guy. And he's like, why don't you come up here, make me go.
Oh, and then the other person.
Yeah, he's like, they're the common enemy now. We're mad at them now. You know, that's us and powerlifters versus CrossFitters. Like that's what that relationship is. It's like we'll bash each other, but then at the end of the day, it's us against CrossFit. All right. If you guys ever hear us cut out randomly, it's because of some sort of
internet stuff
with internet.
Yeah. Good.
So don't mind that, guys. But yeah, so I'm glad to see that it's kind of dying down a bit, and we'll always be against CrossFitters. there's okay, so here's the other thing too. And CrossFitting has died down. We've talked about the origins of CrossFit, where it's come from, what it's for, stuff like that. Interval training is good. It's the community that's the problem, you know? And it's like veganism. If you want to be a vegan and you have your own reasons to do it, do it. Makes you happy, do it. Makes you feel better about yourself, absolutely. The problem is the community. It's the people that push it on other people who shove it down your throat. That the second they get the chance to mention it, they will. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see that that's dying down a bit. This article mentions another bad trend that's actually, I think, is kind of dying down, is like all the, like, it says biohacking, but it's like to me, it's like the overstretching, the fucking, all the fitness tracking app bullshit. The massage guns are dying down too, which is good to see. Like all that shit is like dying down.
You don't even know, from the teaching perspective, the amount of kids I had come in with those, and in the middle of class would just be peppering their arm with a little massage gun.
You don't need that. You do not need that.
Or when I used to coach basketball too, I would have kids on the bench just hitting their thigh while, like, mid-game, just on the bench just hitting it. And I was like, you can just stretch it. You don't need this little, like, it's so easy to hit a quad stretch. Like, just go down and just do yoga. Like, I don't care if you do that behind the bench.
And then even then, like, I'm on the camp that, like, static or any sort of variable stretching doesn't really do too much. It'll warm up your joints, it'll stretch out your joints and warm those up. But for your muscle recovery, dude, it's like compression that's gonna matter. It's like using rollers. That's what really stretches your muscles out. It's the lactic acid buildup that makes them sore. It's not stretching that's gonna fix it. You're just stretching out the muscles. That's just part of a movement. It's the rolling the lactic acid out. Like, that's why I love rollers, because it feels good. It actually squeezes that acid out. Static stretching, isolate stretching, or whatever the stretching you want to call it, just doesn't do it for me. There's really no. And then
I was gonna say, there's a video of it has to be, let's see, Baker got drafted in like 2017 or 2016. So it was a video from like 2017 from the Browns, and one of their coaches is talking to some of the players, and he's watching these guys doing all these stretches, like prior to practice, like doing all sorts of like different stretches. And he goes, who never stretched? Veterans of World War II. They did jumping jacks, sit-ups, and push-ups, and they won 2 world wars.
Yeah, I mean, basically, yeah. There's one of the science-based guys I used to follow. I stopped following him because he started getting too scientific and too bullshitty. But one of the things I really liked is he said one of the most effective ways of stretching your legs is just walking. And I'm like, yeah, facts. Yeah, just walk. Just use your legs. Like, that's one of the best ways of just making something feel better, is just using it.
Yeah, that's why, like, the age-old, like, in sports, like, you get a calf cramp, go walk it off. Like,
yeah, just walk it off. Yeah, it's like,
tear your Achilles, walk it off.
yeah, that's tendon's different, but you can heal or rest something as long as you want. A lot of the time that's not going to be what really heals it, unless it's like a tendon or a bone or something like that, where the recovery method actually requires not using it. When we're talking muscular, using it is what's going to actually heal it. If you're going to get obviously if there's a tear, you got to sew it up and all of that, but if we're talking soreness and micro tears and all that, just fucking use it and you'll get in a better place. So I'm glad that stretching has died down a bit. That was what was huge in the early 2000s and all that. Like, that was something my parents pushed a lot, was like stretching. And yeah, stretch to warm up your joints and make sure that you're kind of like limber going into, training or something like that. But for recovery, stretching is not going to do much. It's the foam rollers and the, like grinding on a corner of a wall or something like that. That's what's gonna, a tennis ball, whatever, rolling on a tennis ball, that's what's gonna help a lot. Actual massaging, getting a massage done, that's what's really gonna help. Massage guns may help a little bit, but I'm glad that they've died down a lot in popularity, because they were like borderline snake oil kind of shit.
Well, that's why, like, when, especially in the gym, when we do a warm-up, we do warm-up sets where, like, for example, I start my chest day with bench. So I go in and I do a bench set of just the bar, and I do like a good 10, 12 reps. And it's just to get blood sent to the specific parts to get those particular muscles warmed up. Yeah. I don't need to go and do this elaborate warm-up procedure just to lift. And then, for example, like for right now, I'm back on that Arnold split where I'm doing chest back on the same day. So I hit chest, and then immediately I'm going and I'm hitting something back. so for the same reason, then I just go and I do like a warm-up set of 10 to 12, just no weight or low weight, just getting blood in those muscles. Like that is the only reason for it. Like you don't need to go and do like, I know you and I talked about it, or we'd make fun of people. Like they would come in and immediately go to a roller or go to a,
Mm-hmm.
the stretchy bar. What are those things called? It's like a bamboo bar, and
Yeah, just something
you like
lightweight.
you manipulate it all over the place, and it's like that's not actually doing anything for what you're about to go do. Sure, if you're in like a sport or something, like, and you need to limber, like get everything going, sure, whatever. But if you're going to go hit a compound movement, why are you getting everything else warmed up, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people train or stretch for longer than my actual training session. I'll
Yeah,
come in, they're stretching, and I'll leave, they're stretching. I'm
yeah.
like, what the hell are you doing, dude? You're wasting. I mean, that's if you want to spend your time that way, go ahead, but you're wasting your time. The best stretch is just using it. The best stretch is just living your life as if it's not even there. You know, and like with your legs, like I've been experiencing a lot of soreness because um, being off everything, going through a health phase and all that. I'm a lot more sore now. So being more sore, just like my legs have been hella sore lately. So just using my legs as if they're not sore is the goal.
Mm.
You're sitting down on a toilet. All these guys like try to straighten out their legs as much as possible. It's like, dude, no, bend your legs. It's gonna hurt, but bend them. It'll get better faster. If you just keep your legs straight, they'll stay sore for another day or two. Or if you actually bend them like you're supposed to use them, they'll be fine soon enough. Day or
There's
two
a
max.
there's a Joe Rogan clip where he talks about, regardless of what his workout is for the day, there are three things that he does every single day, and one of them is 100 just body squats, no weight, nothing, literally just body
Mm-hmm.
squats. And that right there, with no weight, just moving your body in the way that it's supposed to, helps feed your recovery, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like what you're talking about right there.
Yeah, I mean he's very much of a health nut, but
Yeah,
he's
he's
able to be
lifestyle.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's able to do that. He has the money, the resources, and the time. I mean, I don't know about his time. It seems like he's pretty stretched for time, but he makes the time to be able to do stuff like that. Like he
Mm.
has a sensory deprivation tank. Like you don't know how bad I want to try one of those. All right. Yeah. So
Well,
at the same time.
I,
Mhm.
I was gonna say, if only I wasn't sick when you came up to Massachusetts, because I would have brought you in the lake with me. Do 3 minutes in
Yeah.
the lake as it's frozen over.
Yeah, that'd have been interesting. I do. That's the other thing I was going to say is that he has the money to have like a proper ice bath,
Mm.
which, speaking of which, actually, we are going to be renting a house soon down here in Charlotte. So when we do, I'm looking at either getting some sort of like ice bath thing or like a freezer or something so that I can take like morning ice baths for like 2 or 3 minutes.
The absolute cheapest way of doing it. All right, this
Hmm.
is I haven't done it because I don't have the space for it, but this is the absolute cheapest way of doing it. You buy
Hmm.
a I think they're called like cattle tanks or whatever. It's just the big metal bath, the one where
Uh,
like I'm a tall guy, I would be able to fit in it if I was lying down. So you get one of those. It's like 100, $200 for one of those, and then
yeah.
you buy a actual I would say probably a 60-gallon or 120-gallon freezer, and then buy 2 cases of water bottles. And you put all the water bottles in the freezer. Then the morning when you go to it, you toss all the water bottles that you've frozen into it. Wait 2 minutes. Let all the cold diffuse throughout the water. Do your 3 minutes. Put all the water bottles back in the freezer. And
Hmm.
based off of you don't need to reuse a ton of water. You aren't buying ice, and you're not running a giant electricity bill from an actual hydraulic piece. You're running a electricity bill for a freezer, but modern freezers are so efficient that you're really not netting too much of a negative. Like that is the absolute cheapest way of doing it.
But where do you get the cold water from? I get where the water bottles and all that, but like, what do you put in the actual cattle? You can't hear me?
There we
What
go.
happened? All right.
Um, The cold water comes from putting the
Yeah.
frozen. You keep the water stagnant, but you put the frozen water bottles in before you go in, and it's
But what
essentially
about the
like
summer and shit? Like,
yeah,
wouldn't
it's
the
the same.
water get warm?
Yeah, but the water bottles going in because they're frozen, and you're putting like two, like you buy the 24 packs of water
So
bottles.
like the whole thing's full of water bottles basically when you get in it, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's replicating putting ice in, because buying ice is
Gotcha.
dummy expensive. I did that all last summer. It's dummy expensive to keep buying. I was buying ice I was buying 40 pounds every 2 days.
Well, this is why I was thinking just getting one of those big freezers. They're like $600 or whatever. But like getting one of those, filling it with water, and just letting it. We're disconnected. All right. What I was thinking was getting one of those like large freezers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And filling it with water, keeping it at like 32, 33 degrees or whatever I can do, and then keeping it right there. That way, when I open it, I can just break up whatever ice is on the top or something like that, and then just get in the freezer. That's what I was thinking.
I will say, for someone who doesn't do it religiously yet, you do not want to start in the 30s.
Well, I mean, yeah, I could
41,
work
42,
my way down.
41, 42 is going to be where, of someone who's getting into it, you're going to obliterate your shock system, which is good. But 41, 42 is like where you want to start. Yeah. I progressively get, even like freezing 32 area. Not even Joe is running that. Joe runs like in a mid 30s. And
okay.
But I mean, his is different because he has one that simulates running water. So the thing with buying a tank is that when you sit in there, if you don't move around, your body is accustomed to the still water. So that's why I like shake around a little bit, not because I'm shaking, but just to move the water. But what Rogan's does is that it's actually running water. So if there's a film of ice on top, he has to crack through. And then when he gets in, it's actually running water. So his 3 minutes, there is not a single like piece of stagnant water. So his is
that
brutal.
Sucks.
But those ones are like, I want to say those are about like $5-6 grand to get one of those.
Yeah. I mean, just a sensory deprivation tank is like that much too. Sounds dumb to spend that much on it, but yeah, I mean, there's, you can spend as much money as you want on shit like this, recovery systems and all that. But yeah, so I want to be able to do that when we get the house, and also I want to get like a treadmill on like Facebook Marketplace or something, so I can do cardio in my garage or something, or like
I'm the same with a bike. I want to get a stationary bike and just be able to look out at the lake and do like an hour of biking.
Yeah, I would do a Stairmaster if I could, but those are a lot of money. Usually, even for used, like they're like $2 grand at least. But like you can get like a decent, like in good quality treadmill, at least in this area. I've already looked for like $250-300. So that'll save me a lot of driving time, especially during prep if I'm doing like fasted cardio, because like I was doing fasted cardio and like late night cardio. So if I went, twice per day doing something like that, that'd be a lot of driving time. So if I could have my treadmill in my house, that saves a lot. And Sam Sulik actually touched on that. He's like, it was one of his like favorite purchases he ever made was a stationary bike to do his cardio in the morning. And it would be even that much easier to do it in the morning, because what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to have my dogs just be able to go outside, right? Just because that way I don't have to walk there. I don't have to spend 10-15 minutes walking them. So while they're going to the bathroom, I can just walk into my garage, do 20-25 minutes cardio, whatever it is, and then start my day,
Yep.
So like that'd be a lot easier than what I was doing during prep, which is getting up, driving to my apartment gym, takes like a couple minutes to do that, get in my car, drive over, start my cardio, come back, walk my dogs, come back inside. This is also hiking a bunch of floors and all that, and then eating and all that, where, at that time, all I got to do is just go to my treadmill, which could be even just in another room, theoretically, do it there. And then, I don't have to be quiet or anything, because it's my own house. I could play my, TV or whatever if I have something hooked up to it, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I mean, that's the other thing with this year. This year's was a lot for bodybuilding with me in general, like, going through a pretty decent bulk, like January into April, and then doing my first ever prep and my first ever 2 shows, and then going through, PCT and all that. Like my year was literally broken up into like almost 4 months. It was like January through April's bulk. May through August was like prep / shows. September through December was like coming off of everything PCT, and then like focusing on fertility and conception. That's where we're at. So it's like it was like broken up into different months, but a lot happened this year, and a lot of progress has been made. Right now, it's tough. We did, you and I texted about it. It's tough going through a health phase where you're putting on fat, you're losing strength. So we did talk about my blood test last week. I got my hormones back. It took over a week to get them back, and then my levels were way lower than expected. I was hoping they would be normal. Obviously, looking back retrospectively, that was a bit ignorant. Just because it's going to take a couple months for them to get back to normal. Like in the past, I've done PCTs where they're normal right away, but I didn't take it to account that I was on test for like easily at least a year, right? So it was shut down for a very long time. And I took other stuff on top of that, Masteron, Primo, Tren, stuff like that, which also shuts down. Tren is one of the worst for it too. It really shuts your shit down. So, I didn't take that into account. So my test levels ended up being about 70 nanograms total and like 15 to 20 free test total. So normal for total test is between 250 nanograms and about 1100 is what that reference range said. Mine was at 75. So it was under a third of, there we go. Okay. So it was under every time I come back. So it was under like a third of what it's supposed to be. Sorry for all the difficulties, guys. We're gonna try to figure this out for next time. New service we're using, and it's not good. We'll figure it out. But
yeah,
it was under a third of what it should be, and my free test was less than half of what it should be. We're also talking about the minimums too. Like 250 is the bare minimum. I wanted to be closer to 500 to 600 because that's where I was naturally before I took anything, right? So I'm like a sixth of. Oh my gosh, I think we're good. All right, just stay there. That's you every single podcast now. You have to do that. You should breathe.
I was trying to see if you could tell. Like, am I frozen?
Jeez, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on with my internet. Damn, dude's huge. So it was my total test was less than a fifth of what I wanted it to be. 75 versus like 500 to 600, and free test. I was hoping to be like 70-ish, but it's like less than half that. It was like 15 to 20 or whatever it was. So nowhere near what I wanted, but knowing that now it's kind of expected. So the plan is a couple months off total, at least a couple months off everything. Really the focus is just getting pregnant. So that's really the focus right now, and just capitalizing on that if we can. We need to be off long enough to where my natural levels come back. My FSH and LH were low. My LH was low. My FSH was non-readable, but soon enough that'll come right back. So we're just kind of trying to get to that point. It might take 2 to 3 months. It might take another 1 to 2 months at least from here, before we get back to natural levels, and then, keep continuing to try for a baby. Once we are pregnant, it's probably when we'll pick back up. But, coach is really emphasizing, like, look, this is what bodybuilding really actually is. He's like,
yeah.
At the end of the day, the bulking, the cutting, the preps, the shows, that's all the easy part. That's the fun stuff, right? That's the stuff that keeps your mind in the game. You're making progress. You're getting results. Whether you're putting on fat and building strength, or losing fat and getting shredded, whatever it is, you're making some sort of results. It's the easier part. The hard part is looking after your body. That's the hard part. That's how you get addicted to shit. And that's kind of what I'm going through right now. It's the hard part where I'm gaining fat, losing strength. I feel like I don't really feel like shit, but I know that if I were to hop on shit right now, in a few days, it'd be like, wow, I felt like shit before. Like, not like shit, felt normal. So it's like, I know that I feel normal right now, but I know that once I get back on shit, I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that this is what this felt like again. because I was on test for so long, I forgot what it felt like, you know, to have high test. So that's I look forward to that, but I'm trying everything I can to just not keep my eye on that, you know. And in the grand scheme of things, you know, I kind of had to have a pep talk with my coach. Like he really talked me down, because he's like, look, he's like, it's all going to come back. Don't worry. He's like, I know it sucks. He's like, I just went through the exact same thing you're going through. He's like, it took, I think he was off everything. You're like really not even like going through a health phase for like 4 to 6 months or something. And he's like, it sucks. He's like, trust me, I know exactly what that's like. You lose a lot of the progress, or you feel like you lose a lot of the progress that you made. And really the thing is it's not, that's not the case. It may look like it, but you know, 2 to 3 months back on plan, you're right back to where you were at your best. He's like, he's like, Kevin Levrone is a good example of that. You know, he came back for the 2016 Olympia. He, in quotations, looked like shit. Good shape for his age, but didn't look the best. Gave him a year. Boom, he's fucking huge and shredded, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, it all comes back. You know, that's what muscle memory will do. So I got to keep that in mind. Keep my eye on the prize. Look at the bigger picture. Because, you know, even though it sucks right now, in the long term, this is what we need to do. You know, this is what we need to do to stay healthy. There are athletes I know. My coach referenced one of them, and he said, you know, like, I'm not going to give any sort of identifiers, but, you know, the people he was working with at one point had him on stuff for so long, he's probably never going to be able to have kids. That's a reality. He's probably sterile, because you can, like, you know, work your way back, but you can be off shit for so long, you basically kill, like, like FSH, LH, your pituitary gland, all that. You could be on shit for so long, it literally like destroys that, you know, and you basically end up sterile. You know, you might have like natural testosterone and all of that, but your sperm and your testicles will literally be shut down and dead, basically. So, like, he's like, I don't want that for anybody. And he's like, so that's why we have to do this. It's so that you could still be a functioning man, basically, when you decide to stop bodybuilding one day. And so like in the long term, this is what I know is needed. You know, I'm not going to be bodybuilding forever. So like, that's why I want to get back on shit and get back on plan. But when I am done, you know, in 10 to 15 years, most of my life, I'm going to be done bodybuilding. You know, I'll be like, yeah, I was a bodybuilder. You know, that's most of my life. I'll be saying that, you know, so that's what I keep my eye on. And at the end of the day, I want to be a bodybuilder and I want to go pro and all of that. But now that I have, like, especially now that I have my footing in a company that I love working for, and I have a job that I love doing, and I'm looking forward to the future of my actual career, the most important thing to me right now is having a kid. You know, that's what's most important to me right now. So like in the past, you know, I've always worked in sales and all of that. So when you work in sales, anybody who works in sales, listen to this, will know, you never really get comfortable. You always feel like your head's on a chopping block. You know, you always feel like you might not have your job tomorrow. That's just how it works. But the company I'm with right now, like, it's a small company and they care enough about their people. I could genuinely feel that. And I'm enough of an asset to the company where I have full job security. Like, I feel so secure in my position and I'm excited for the future as far as moving up. So now I'm like, okay, bodybuilding isn't like my plan A. Like, that, it used to be kind of like my plan A, where my career was my plan B. Now bodybuilding is like a plan A and my career is a plan A. Like, I can have both, you know? So that's why bodybuilding is I'm still doing it. You know, I'm still like, this is more, that's what my coach was saying. He was like, this is more about bodybuilding. Like, this is what bodybuilding truly is. Like, this is where discipline truly kicks in. So I am still disciplined. I am still training and all of that. And, you know, my eyes still on the prize. I'm still looking forward to bodybuilding. I'm going to, after today's session, I'm going to go hit some back or whatever, go destroy my back. So I'm still doing all of that, not really making much progress, but I'm staying disciplined, going through the motions, doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. So that way down the road, when I do get back to the plan and we are pregnant and I could focus on getting ready for the kid and also bodybuilding, we're in a better place. And, you know, I'll be happy that I did that for my kids one day when I don't die at fucking 45 because I decided to take testosterone for 10 years straight, you know? So that's what all of this is for. So that's the things that people don't talk about. This is the things you don't see posted on social media. is, the health phases, the phases where you look like shit. And you'll this is the other thing too with social media. You'll notice when you're following bodybuilders, you'll notice when I see the trend, I see the pattern when someone's in a health phase and they look like shit and they probably feel like shit and they're taking time off from everything because they repost like show photos or prep photos or something like that. And it's so fucking frequent. I know guys off the top of my head right now, I can think about them. They would post a previous show photo from like a year ago. They'll post it like once a week or like a photo from that show once a week and talk about motivation and staying on plan and all that. And it's like, dude, you look like shit, I'm sure, because you wouldn't be posting that if you didn't. I don't have anything presentable right now, so I'm not posting myself. So it's, that's the pattern that you're seeing with all these guys. They don't post their health faces on social media. But that's kind of what I want to do potentially. Like, I have all these photos from my weigh-ins and shit and be like, look, this is what bodybuilding really is. This is what you kind of look like half the time. You kind of look like shit half the time and you feel like shit. And, when you look shredded and when you're ready for the stage, like that's only a small portion of it. And even then, like when I felt I looked my best was like within the last week and a half of prep. That was when I felt like I looked my best. Before that, yeah, I was getting leaner, but like really when I was actually proud of what I had was like basically just peak week. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Like, water cut. I was super lean. I wasn't proud. I was proud of what I brought to the show. I wasn't happy with it. We could have brought better, but we learned from it. But peak week, I was like I still look back at it. I'm like, holy fuck. Like I was pretty diced. It's like a few days out from the show. We fucked it up with water and carb upload or carbon uptake and all that. But like a few days out from the show, like I feel like I look pretty diced. So like, you don't realize it in the moment and you don't appreciate it in the moment. But most of the time, you're not going to look or feel amazing and you're not going to look like a bodybuilder a lot of the time. That's why like a lot of bodybuilders' goals isn't to look shredded or isn't to look stage ready all the time because you can't. The goal is to fill out a fucking shirt and look huge in a sweatshirt or something. Like that's the goal. That's my goal is like I want to be like in an XL shirt and have like a V taper. Like that's what I want. Like I want people to see that. Like, my arms and shoulders and chest and back filling out the shirt, but then my waist and like the trunk of the shirt being baggy. Like that's what I want. And I'm kind of getting there, but especially after the next year, like the progress I made from the beginning of or like the end of 2022 to like after my show, like I had a completely different physique because I went through a bulk and then also a very, very harsh prep. So when you do that, you get rid of all that stubborn fat and all of that. So like I look like a different person. Even like 8 weeks after my show, I look back and I was like, oh, I look like shit. I look fat, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking at like 6, 7, 8 weeks out. And I'm like, dude, I still had like striated shoulders and like my abs are still protruding pretty good. And, veins all over my arms. Like, I'm like, what the fuck was I complaining about? Like, I'm like, what is wrong with me? But you don't realize it in the moment. So, when you're in the phase that I am right now, I'm enjoying life a bit more. I'm playing more video games. I'm spending less time at the gym because I'm not so focused on it. I mean, I am focused on it, but I'm not so like, hour and a half gung ho, like let's just destroy my body every single second. It's like, let me get a good pump. Let me burn some calories, do some cardio, stay healthy. And then get home to my wife and dogs and hopefully have a kid here soon and get ready for the new house when we move in there in the next month or two. So that's what bodybuilding is. It's in addition to your life. It's not a substitute of your life is what I'm trying to say. So for those that want to get into it, that's what you're looking forward to is basically body dysmorphia. It's basically what you're looking forward to. It's the mental shit. It's the mental game. It's, I'm still strong. Like I hit, 100-pound dumbbells yesterday, incline for like 8 or 9 reps. I was pretty comfortable with that. I'm still strong, but I'm not as strong as I was. And training didn't feel as good as sex like it did on trend, So I wish it did because like that was fucking awesome. But you go through it, you know what the road coming up is going to be like. I know what the next prep is going to be like. I know what the next bulk is going to be like. So I'm fucking looking forward to it. I have something to look forward to, but right now it just kind of sucks. And I'll be wearing a lot of hoodies this winter. So it works out that it's winter time, for my health phase versus summertime. I should be in a much better shape this summer.
Hell yeah.
So
I don't
that's my
think we can
23.
wrap. I don't think we can wrap it up any better than that.
Yeah, I mean, we can next week we can touch base more. We still have another week on the year, so with that being said, we'll definitely touch on, we talked about a lot of the trends going on, but definitely this next week we'll talk about what's more going on with you too. I want to hear more about what you're up to and all that, and how you're feeling after being sick for that period of time and whatnot.
Hell yeah!
So
all right, y'all.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. This is the 23rd of December. So you guys have a very Merry Christmas. Enjoy your holidays with your family. Eat some good food. We'll be back next week, just before the new year.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas, y'all.
Merry Christmas, guys. See ya.